niceness. It is a quality that society praises, a word sewn into childhood lessons, a trait that parents, teachers, and leaders all encourage. Be polite, be agreeable, do not cause conflict. And yet, hidden beneath this surface of virtue lies a dangerous vulnerability. Nice people, more often than not, find themselves taken advantage of, manipulated, and controlled. In this investigation, we will uncover the psychology behind why those who appear kind and accommodating become easy targets for those who seek power. We will examine the experiments that reveal just how easily humans can be bent to the will of others. And finally, we will learn what must be done to resist. The story begins with a simple but unsettling truth. Niceness is often mistaken for weakness. Those who prioritize harmony, who avoid conflict at all costs, often telegraph to others that they will comply. The manipulator recognizes this, and like a predator sensing weakness, they act. But why does it happen so predictably? Psychologists point to a concept known as people-pleasing behavior. At its root, people-pleasing is a survival mechanism. To avoid rejection, to be accepted by the tribe, individuals learn to suppress their own needs in favor of others. It is an ancient instinct. In early human societies, exile meant death. Belonging was survival. That ancient program, still alive in the modern brain, now manifests as a willingness to say yes when we mean no, to avoid confrontation even when our well-being is at stake. Manipulators exploit this instinct with precision. They apply guilt. They frame refusal as selfishness. They imply that compliance is expected, normal, decent, and the nice person folds. The extent of this tendency to obey and to comply was captured in one of the most chilling experiments of the 20th century. In 1961, psychologist Stanley Milgram conducted a study at Yale University that would shock the world. Participants were told they were part of a learning experiment. Their role, to administer electric shocks to another person whenever he gave a wrong answer. With each mistake, the voltage increased. In reality, no shocks were given. The person receiving them was an actor, pretending to be in pain. But the participants did not know this. They heard screams, pleas to stop, even silence as the supposed victim fell unconscious. And yet, urged on by the experimenter in a lab coat, "Please continue. The experiment requires that you continue." Most participants did just that. 65% of them administered what they believed was a fatal 450-volt shock. Ordinary, decent people. Nice people. Why? Because they feared conflict, they feared disapproval, and they trusted authority more than their own conscience. The Milgram experiment revealed something chilling about human nature. Niceness, when combined with obedience, creates the perfect conditions for manipulation. Those who wish to dominate do not need overt cruelty. They only need compliance. Another study further illuminates this vulnerability. In the 1950s, Solomon Asch conducted his famous conformity experiments. Groups of participants were shown a series of lines and asked to judge which ones were equal in length. The answer was obvious. But when planted actors in the group deliberately gave the wrong answer, the real participants, time and again, abandoned their own eyes and conformed to the group's error. 3 out of 4 participants gave in at least once, simply to avoid standing out. Once again, niceness, the desire to fit in, to keep peace, to avoid the discomfort of disagreement, overpowered truth. This is the psychology manipulators exploit. They do not attack directly. Instead, they leverage 3 predictable weaknesses: the need to be liked, the fear of rejection, and the discomfort with conflict. each one becomes a lever of control. Take guilt tripping, one of the oldest tools in the manipulator's arsenal. A friend says, "After everything I've done for you, you can't even do this one thing for me." A family member asks, "If you really cared about me, wouldn't you agree?" These words carry an implicit threat: comply or lose approval, love, belonging. The nice person, unwilling to be labeled selfish, complies. Or consider gaslighting, a term born from the 1938 play Gaslight, in which a husband manipulates his wife into believing she is losing her sanity by dimming the lights and denying it when she notices. Today, gaslighting describes a tactic in which manipulators distort reality, deny facts, and make the victim doubt their own perception. Nice people, already inclined to trust others, are especially susceptible. They give the benefit of the doubt. They question themselves before questioning others. And in doing so, they surrender reality itself. Another tactic is love bombing, often seen in toxic relationships and cults. The manipulator showers the target with praise, attention, and affection, overwhelming them with positive reinforcement. Nice people, eager for validation, become hooked. And once dependence is established, the manipulator withdraws affection, creating a cycle of control. Even silence becomes a weapon. The silent treatment forces the nice person into discomfort, exploiting their fear of disapproval. They break the silence not to resolve conflict, but to regain acceptance, often by giving in. History is filled with examples of societies, movements, and organizations exploiting these same principles on a mass scale. Consider corporate scandals, in which employees ignored unethical practices because speaking up meant isolation, job loss, or ridicule. Or political regimes where ordinary citizens complied with atrocities because resistance meant punishment. In every case, the dynamic is the same. Nice people, polite, obedient, agreeable, manipulated into compliance with things they would never have chosen freely. The consequences of unchecked niceness are not only external. Internally, the cost is devastating. Resentment builds as the nice person suppresses their true feelings. Anxiety grows as they constantly monitor others' approval. And slowly, their identity erodes, replaced by a mask of agreeableness. They cease to live for themselves, existing instead as a tool for others' agendas. But manipulation is not inevitable. Awareness is the first defense. To understand the psychology of manipulation is to strip it of its power. Once seen, it cannot be unseen. The first step is boundaries. Niceness without boundaries is self-destruction. A person must learn to say no without apology, to withstand the discomfort of disapproval. The manipulator thrives on predictability, the certainty that the nice person will fold. Break that pattern once, and the balance of power shifts. The second step is clarity. When guilt or gaslighting arises, the key is to anchor to facts. Write down events, record conversations if necessary. Memory can be bent, but documented truth cannot. Manipulators rely on confusion. Clarity disarms them. The third step is values. A person grounded in their own principles is far harder to sway. If honesty, autonomy, or justice are non-negotiable, then no amount of pressure, affection, or rejection can move them. Values act as the compass when others try to redraw the map. And finally, the willingness to face conflict. Niceness often arises from fear. Fear of anger, fear of rejection, fear of standing alone. But conflict is not death. Disagreement is not exile. In fact, It is only through conflict that true respect is earned. Those who cannot be manipulated are those who are not afraid to be disliked. In the end, the truth is stark. Manipulators do not target the cruel, the aggressive, or the defiant. They target the nice. Because niceness, without strength, is compliance disguised as virtue. To stop being manipulated is not to abandon kindness, but to pair it with power. To be polite, but firm. Compassionate, but unyielding. Giving, but never at the expense of the self. The world will always have those who seek to control. But control requires a willing subject. And the moment niceness learns to draw a line, manipulation fails. Niceness is not weakness. But niceness without boundaries is surrender. And in the shadows where manipulators operate, surrender is exactly what they are searching for. So the choice is clear. Remain agreeable, compliant, and quietly used. Or learn to say no. Learn to hold firm. Learn to stand in the discomfort of disapproval. Because only then does niceness transform from a vulnerability into a strength. In the laboratories of psychology, in the records of history, and in the everyday lives of ordinary people, the evidence is overwhelming. Nice people get manipulated, but they don't have to. The power to stop it has always been in their hands. The question is whether they will use it. If this video opened your eyes, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone you know who needs to hear it. Leave a comment with your thoughts below and subscribe for more investigations into the hidden forces that shape our lives. Fortify your mind. Subscribe to the Inner Citadel.